Ooh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David,
And I'm Matt.
and this is where we cover everything in the Star Wars galaxy. And I finally did it. I went to Galaxy's Edge last week. I got home yesterday. We're recording on Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And yeah, it was incredible. It was awesome. Matt was there too, along with Colin, Brooke, Sam from the podcast. And we met up on day
We met up
two
on
of my vacation. The Star Wars Day. So it was May 4th. I got there on the 3rd. I walked into the park, checked into my resort. I stayed at the Pop Century Resort. And luckily, the way to get to Hollywood Studios, which is where Galaxy's Edge is located, we used the Skyliner. Yeah, we used a Skyliner, and it took us from the Pop Resort in the air, and it was included transportation. We have to pay anything for it.
Well, honestly, because like the way you came from Pop Century, which is one resort over from the station, because you have to use a Skyliner, you have to go from one resort to another resort. And then you have to get off the Skyliner and then get on another Skyliner that takes you to Galaxy's Edge. Right. So it's like it made it in like a T formation. You have to it's like one of the worst resorts in terms of getting from the resort to Galaxy's Edge. It's like systematically designed to keep you from getting there as fast as possible. But whereas you if you took off from what other resort was it? There was like one other resort that it takes you to. I can't remember which one it was. But
it takes you to a bunch of them. It's something called Caribbean something.
Yeah, I know.
And then Art of Animation is like the sister resort to the Pop Century Resort, which is where we stayed. Or I stayed.
Yeah, they're like in the same. They're in the same pond. Of sorts. So they use the same Skyliner station, and then it takes you to the I think Caribbean Beach Resort.
Right.
Is the one. It's like the biggest of the resorts, which is why it's there. And then that one takes you to either Epcot or Hollywood Studios.
Right.
So to go, if you wanted to next time for future notice, stay at Caribbean, it'll get you to where they're way faster. Or to our viewers who are looking for the fastest way to Galaxy's Edge while staying at a Disney resort in Orlando, it would be the Caribbean Beach Resort.
Right.
So you enjoy the Skyliner then? You like it?
It was pretty nice. I didn't know kind of what to expect when I was there in 2018 with my family before Galaxy's Edge existed. My wife said, "Hey, let's maybe get on the Skyliner," but we ran out of time or whatever happened. Mm-hmm. We didn't get on it, but this time took full advantage. That was my main transportation from the resort to Galaxy's Edge.
You must have been like right when the Skyliner opened, because I think it opened in like 2018 or something like that.
Yeah. 2018 is when I went the first time to Disney.
It's kind of like a ride of itself.
Yeah. It's really cool, and it's in it's a glass kind of gondola thing, almost like when you go skiing, and it's not hot at all. It's properly vented, and when it's moving, you get a breeze that runs through there.
That's one of my first thoughts when I wrote it, and I was like, "Wow, this is quite refreshing."
Yeah, and I got some pictures here. I'll put them up on here. There's 2 benches. It says Skyliner on the side.
Who's this crazy cool guy we're looking at here?
That's my buddy Carl from Texas.
That's a nice shirt he's got out there.
Yeah. He wore the T-shirt, made him one there, and we rode that thing probably every single day, maybe twice a day. But day 1 was May 3rd. We got there around 2:00. We went into Galaxy's Edge. We went to the front part of it. We didn't see the Falcon. We went to the front part of it. Of course, we rode Star Tours, and we had an appointment to build a droid. So that's one of the first things we did, and we got in line. And actually, I believe leading up to the droid builder was this X-Wing, and this X-Wing is kind of famous because this is the same X-Wing that Dave.
Oh, you went to the left entrance where you walk through that tunnel. Oh, okay.
Yes,
I thought you came from like Toy Story Land, which is I think that one's technically like the faster route, honestly. But you said you were going to Star Tours first, which explains why you went to the left.
Right. So Star Tours is right there to the left, and then you walk into the tunnel, and you see this X-Wing, which is the same X-Wing they used in The Mandalorian. Dave Filoni sat in this X-Wing and shot his scenes for The Mandalorian season 1, I believe. Mm-hmm. Maybe season 2. I'm not sure. But
it was 1.
Okay. One only.
Season 2 is the one where they used not blue ones for when they tried to hunt down a Mandalorian onto that ice planet with the spider looking thingies.
Yeah. Okay. And Chewie was standing out there, and he was waving to the crowd, roaring a little bit, just like that. And and we get
I love
in
how the
line.
wind always catches the back of his head. The wind just makes it turn to the side. He gets like a part in his head.
Yeah. And we get in line for the droid builder, and lo and behold, I figured I would see someone that I knew, and I saw this person. This is Holly Fry from the Full of Sith podcast, and I thought it was her when I saw her, but when I heard her voice, I was sure it was her. So yeah, I met her. I met the other host back at Celebration in 2015, I believe, and in 2019.
That guy in the background kind of looks like he wants to be in the photo, but doesn't want to ask.
He's like, kind of froze up. I saw that too.
Yeah, that's funny. We saw quite a few individuals while we were at Galaxy's Edge related to the podcast, ones that listen to ours or other podcasts or related things. Well, that was really cool that we all wore Star Wars Stuff podcast t-shirts, which were lovingly made by your wife, yours truly.
Yeah.
And they were really well made, and we had like different colors. We were all flashing. I think I wore a blue with a yellow tint, and Sam wore a red one with a black font color. So I was like, he's like the Sith one, obviously. And I think Colin he definitely had the black one that was yellow, but he had a Porg on it, or not a Porg, Max Rebo.
Yeah.
And you were the one with Porgs, weren't you?
No, I also had I had like a variation of just the logo and Max Rebo.
Okay.
And I gave Colin a couple of other shirts that had Porgs on it, and I don't know who ended up taking them, but they were there. And once we got into the droid workshop, it's just an assembly line of parts. You kind of piecemeal your droid the way you want them. And leading up to it, I was just thinking, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to make, what color scheme I wanted. I figured I'd just do it spur of the moment. But the interesting thing was we didn't know about the fact that you could buy a bundle, which included a backpack, one of those identity chips.
I got all of that. I got the whole thing.
Yeah.
I did mine.
Yeah. So, yeah, we did this, and here's my droid right here. I gave him the black color scheme because if you remember back in Return of the Jedi, R2 appears black in the back of Luke's X-Wing because, of course, he couldn't be blue because of blue screen technology. He would just disappear. So they made him black. So I made mine black with a little bit of hint of blue in it. And the cast member that worked with us, she was pretty cool. She recognized that we knew what we were doing, so to speak. And she kind of made a joke about that. And
she knew about the whole, him being black in that one episode.
No, but
or the fact that you know how to build it.
Yeah, I mean, we just kind of went at it. I mean, you have screwdrivers on the side.
It's very self-explanatory. It's kind of crazy, especially like at the bottom of the basket when you're collecting it. I like how it's like, if you're looking for more of a BB unit, you're going to need to collect these parts. But if you're looking for an astromech or a DT unit, you're going to have to look for these ones. And it's like when it comes to a conveyor belt, like it seems like chaotic, and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I was like, just look at the pictures, and grab what you need to grab. And I was like, make sure you get the pretty colors.
Yeah, once you grab all your stuff, you get to the station that they assign it to you, and you basically you can look at the mat that's placed there, no pun intended, and then you just put your droid together, and they put him in this slot, and he kind of wakes up, and he starts beeping, and you get a little remote control, and you can drive him around, and the cast member explains how to use the droid, how to operate him, all the options.
He's basically born. It's kind of cool. It's like, oh, I just gave birth to this little droid.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then you have a backpack you put him in, and the zipper unzips, and you can see his head, almost like one of those baby backpacks where you put your kid in. I
was thinking more of dogs, but I don't know what with a flap. I like the little foam insert they give you for the bag too.
The little what?
The foam insert that holds the droid inside of it.
Yeah. There's like a cutout, so you
so it doesn't like bounce around and like stays up straight. Even if, especially if you get a BB unit, which can roll, it's like whoa, over here now.
So after that, I think we went back to the hotel. We got on the Skyliner, kind of chilled out for a little bit, and waited for dinner time, which we all met up again in Disney Springs, and we went to the Indiana Jones bar that Colin was like super hyped up about going to, and he's been there several times. And it was so funny because our old friend Craig from 2017, he lives there in Orlando, and he showed up. So it was us, Craig, Carl, my buddy, Sam, Colin, and Brooke, and we took a picture here, all wearing our shirts. Or
Well,
actually, you guys changed. I thought you
no.
guys were
Well,
wearing
I
the
was
shirt.
gonna put my shirt on because you had just given us our shirts right before this, like
Right.
before this
Okay.
dinner.
Yeah,
So
we
like, I
had.
didn't have a chance to
Okay.
put it
Yeah.
on yet.
Yeah. So I brought the shirts to this.
Right, my
That's when you
shirt's
got the
sitting on
shirts.
the chair
Okay.
behind me. Actually,
Okay.
it's like laying down.
So yeah, we ate out here, and I guess this is like a lake or something. There's a guy driving a car in the lake,
Yeah, they
and
have like multiple like rentals or like that you can like get, and they're like I think they're like 5 or 6, and they're like 60s like brand like convertible like Chevy Chevelles kind of thing, and like they have like little boat like lights on them.
yeah,
It's kind of like funny. I love it, but it's also annoying when they're beeping at you trying to get their attention.
yeah. So the next morning, actually, one of our listeners said, "Hey, go to Google and type in May the 4th in Google, and this is what happened. All this confetti and stuff dropped for Star Wars Day."
Gnarly.
I thought that was pretty cool. And of course, we wanted to ride Rise of the Resistance, so we all got on our apps. It's a reservation only ride. Right at 7 a.m., we all tried for the ride, and we got boarding group number 24.
Oh yeah,
And
there I am right there. Yeah, it was. I'm I'm 4 for 4 for getting on this thing. Like I'm a pro at this because like there are like people that like can't get into it because like you have to be like ready right there at 7 a.m. and I'm like every time like boop got it.
so,
Even like when I went like last August in October again, and then even on Star Wars Day the day before because it opens up at 7 a.m. The day of, and you don't have to be at the park to do it. It just opens up at 7 a.m. and then I like refreshed the page like 4 times at like 6:59 and was like refreshed it, and then I opened the app again, and then I was just had my finger tapping it away until it went through.
nice. Yeah, that we got pretty close to the very beginning there.
Right.
And yeah, that's a screen you see on the app when you finally get through. And of course, we were all happy. And of course, I got out of bed. This was actually the inside of our room here
Oh
at
wow.
Pop Century.
I've never seen the inside of your room. That's kind of cool. It's
Yeah, so the right side is just a bed that's there. So the left side, that bed actually goes into that
The wall.
wood part. Yeah. So when that goes up, there's a table there. So you have a built-in table, and
Nice
it
fold away
helps
bed.
support. Yeah, yeah, essentially, yeah. So that was cool. So one of the things that I didn't know about that actually became one of the best things about the trip was this cup. So
Yeah, you were
one
drinking
thing,
out of that all week, and I was like, "That's a cool cup."
yeah. Well, see, the thing is, it's just not a standard cup. I think it was about $35. It's a Star Wars cup, of course, but it's a cup that you get from the resort, and they have fountain drink stations kind of placed everywhere around the resort, and you can just get a drink. But the cool thing about it, it's steel, so it keeps your drink warm or cold all day. So if you pour a bunch of ice in there, the ice is just going to stay ice. It's not going to water down your drink. So that's why I
Really?
had it with me the whole time. So once we walked through the park and it was super hot most of these days, we were just sweating gallons. I would just fill it with ice and pour water in it, drink the water, get on the ride, make sure that all the water was gone. It was just ice. So I'd close the top and it wouldn't leak anywhere. And then I just fill it back up with water again. And I could chew on some ice too, or just pour a drink in there. So
It's nice that you had a game plan for your water because hydration and Goggles is just really important.
yeah, I
And,
noticed you had a Camelback with you. And
yeah, it's something I learned because the first time I went, I didn't have one. I had a regular water bottle, and I noticed how annoying it was because I had a backpack with me, and I had a water bottle, and I was like, oh, I just wish I didn't have to like take my backpack off every time to get my water bottle because I'm not that flexible. I can't just reach back and grab it. So I take my bag off and I get it. And then I just like decided, what if I could have one container that I could not have to grab that can hold enough water to last me a whole day? Because I have a a 3-liter, which is the quantity it can hold, camo pack that I just put inside my backpack. So that way I always had my camo pack in there. I had a battery pack and a charger, and then I had sunscreen, and then I had a first aid kit, and then I had plenty of room for like stuff that when I bought, like if I bought a t-shirt, I could just put it in the bag. And I also had an extra Star Wars Stuff podcast shirt because I'm a sweaty fellow. So like I would put that in there too. So like halfway through the day, if I needed to, I could change shirts and still rep the pod, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that was awesome.
I learned that pretty early on, and I'm a pretty well seasoned amusement park person. Not as much as Sam, obviously. I'm sure you knew to figure that out. Sam's like a nut when it comes to like all things that you need to know about amusement park, and especially like Disney. Like his absolute favorite is Disneyland. He'll talk about it from day and night, bottom to the top of the day. But I just always thought that like carrying a backpack was a nuisance, but then like as I grew into an adult, I was like, oh, this is helpful. But again, sweaty back syndrome, you know, so here we are.
So I got a question for you. Can you like freeze the water in the camel pack?
What I do and I didn't do it for this trip because I stayed at Colin's house and I didn't want to abuse a bunch of their freezer space. But normally what I do for hiking trips is I'll fill up the camel pack 50%, and then I'll put it in the freezer laying on its side. And then in the morning, I'll fill up the other half of it with regular water so that I have like an ice water mix, but it still doesn't mess with the shape of the bag. That's what I do.
Interesting. Okay, that's a good tip.
Because if I like filled like 2/3 of it or even all of it, then I wouldn't be able to enjoy the beverage unless I like lit it out to thaw a little bit. So I did like a half and a half, so it keeps the water that's not frozen cold while also thawing out slowly the frozen side.
All right.
So if you ever find yourself backpacking or hiking, that's also a pretty cool tactic.
Nice. Mm-hmm. And while we were there, this video dropped.
Oh
we
gosh.
talked about it on the podcast. Yeah, the lightsaber that actually is the closest thing to a real lightsaber.
Except for, like that's not a real lightsaber, guys. We had quite a few people talking about it. Yeah, we're like, does it cut through things? We're like, no. Oh. Buddy. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, if you go to the Disney Park blog, you can watch it in action. But you've probably seen it by now. It made the rounds, I think, everywhere. So
yeah, and I talked to Sam about it at length. And as you know, Sam just graduated from Northern Michigan University as an engineer. So like he was very fascinated by it. So he explained like the mechanics of it, and he was like, it's basically like 2 tape measures put side by side with an LED light strip connected to the top of it.
Yeah.
And he was like describing like, oh, if it's inside the hill, and he was like showing me this diagram. And that was all while we were waiting in line for a ride. So that was like 40 minutes that I had to listen to him explain that, which is cool. But I wish I could have gotten like a 10-minute version of it. He just gets so passionate about it. And I'm like, I love how passionate it is. And it's fun to watch him go at it. But like after like 35 minutes of him explaining this lightsaber, I'm like, wow, I almost wish it was real right now.
Yeah. So, yeah, we rode Star Tours once again, or actually, I think this is for the first time.
Where's your name?
It's right here.
There it is.
So yeah, Sam explained that it detects your magic band, and that's the city where I'm from as well, right below it. And I had no idea that this was a thing that happens in Star Tours until Sam told me. Like, hey, look, your name.
It's not the only ride that does it too. Like the Rock and Roller Coaster over in Hollywood Studios also can detect your magic band, and then it'll display in the queue. It'll display your name as if you're like a member of a band, and it'll display where you're from, and then it'll display the name of your band, and then it'll have basically like an album poster, not with your face on it, but just a funny one. So yeah, they definitely implemented that into a couple ones, and I think they have it over at Test Track in Epcot and Space Mountain in Magic Kingdom. There's like a lot of them where if it detects your magic band, it'll try to incorporate you into the cool parts of the queue like that, and I love that they included that. I just think it's just one of the many ways that they innovate, and it's even funnier because that's not even Galaxy's Edge. That's Star Tours, which I don't know if everyone knows this, but Star Tours, it was developed far before Galaxy's Edge, and it was in a different section of the park, but it's still Star Wars. So obviously we're gonna do it like multiple times, but it's still really cool to see. And there's also like fun things in the like it didn't say it for yours, but like on the other one it was like Gerald wanted for impersonating a Gungan.
Yeah.
And it's I was like, that's just funny. Why would you even try to impersonate a Gungan? That's just what?
Yeah.
But it was just funny things like that.
Yeah. Definitely is a nice touch. So yeah, I think our Star Tours experience was, I believe, pod racing, Geonosis.
Yep.
And
then
there was
Death Star 2 at the end with Boba Fett.
Yeah. That was pretty rad to see the slave one.
And then we did it again. We got Mustafar.
Did we?
I don't know. I don't remember if you were there for that one, but we definitely did it again. And we got Mustafar, and we actually went to Camino.
I want to say I rode Star Tours total of 10 times on the trip.
I only think I did it like 4. But then again, you went to Hollywood Studios 5 days, and I only went once. So I feel like my number is more impressive because I only did it in 1.
Yeah, that's true. So,
but that doesn't trump that one time, like last July, when Galaxy's Edge and Hollywood Studios were open for like that one blip between pandemic breaks, and there was almost no one at the park. And I think we did Smuggler's Run like 8 times. And I was like,
oh wow!
It was like a 10-minute wait, not even for like most of the day that we were there. So we were like, just
wow.
I envy. I mean, I can't say a lot about things that I like about that came out of the pandemic because I absolutely hated it, and I'm sure you did as well. Because it was just terrible. I hated the pandemic. But if I could have one positive thing come out of it, it is, in fact, the wait times at Galaxy's Edge in July of 2020. Because, my God, they were so short. I think, we did. We ended up actually. This was before they made restrictions. We did Rise of the Resistance twice because there was 2 different waiting times. There was a 7 a.m. one you can sign up for, or 1 p.m. And we managed to get on both of them because that was before they had restrictions on how many times you could do it a day. And then we did Smuggler's Run like 8 times. We actually even got into Olga's Cantina because just of how little people that were there. We didn't get into Olga's this time just because it was May the 4th. Obviously, I wasn't expecting that to happen unless we did it like literally months ago. Which we tried.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to Olga's Cantina. But
you didn't get to any of the days? Oh, that's
no, because all the reservations were pretty much booked except for Saturday. And then Saturday, we were like, man, we have all this stuff that we purchased. We need to figure out how we're going to get it back to Texas. And luckily, Disney has Disney already thought about that stuff. So yeah, we shipped all of our stuff, ground shipping, back to Texas. And I'll get to in some of these pictures of what we actually bought. But I got to drink some blue milk finally, and it looks a lot like milk here, but it doesn't taste like milk.
It's the same consistency, except for like that you can like randomly find some like frozen flakes in there too.
Yeah,
that's like kept really cold. And I see you got the non-alcoholic one, which is obvious because of the glass that you got it in. They make the alcoholic ones obvious because they're square.
Right, I saw that. I was like, wow, they got different cups.
Yep. So that's how they can tell who's drinking what, because if they see like some teenager drinking out of the square one, they're gonna be like, something's wrong there. Yeah. So, but I mean, I've tried both. I have not tried the green milk alcoholic version yet, but I was intending to. But I don't know. I spent so much money, and I was like, okay, well, let's not do another $14 drink today.
Yeah, and the thing with the blue milk, you had to order it on the app. You couldn't just walk up and pay for it. You have to order on the app, tell them that you're there so they can prepare it. And then
that's another one of the innovations.
Yeah, then the app tells you when to get in line to pick it up. So,
which it's almost instant because like there isn't really. I mean, there was during like earlier in the day there was a decent line, but as soon as you like put the order in, it's basically like, okay, go ahead and get in line. But you can't get in line until you've already put the order in. That's another thing that was another product of the pandemic, and it's happened. And it's like that all over Disney, where you can only get into certain restaurants if you've placed an order in online, like a mobile order. And it's kind of convenient in a lot of ways, and sometimes it can be just annoying That's how I got to eat at Docking Bay 7, which is where I ate on May the 4th, and then you guys ate at where'd you guys eat?
Ronto
Ronto.
Roasters.
Ronto Roasters is where you ate, and you guys got the Ronto wraps, right?
Yes, I think all three of us did. And
Yeah, the Ronto wrap's delicious.
yeah, it was
It's like a
pretty good.
sausage and like weird, like it's almost like sauerkraut inside of like a pita, like tortilla. It's really good stuff.
Yeah.
I ended up just having like I think it was just like fried chicken with potatoes and like an alien looking vegetable.
Yeah. So there's actually an A-wing out there as well when you walk through the front entrance there. And
it mirrors the X-wing in the same area on the left side.
Yeah. Sure does. So that was the first day for me on the 3rd, May 3rd, day before Star Wars Day. And there's actually a picture of what the Pop Resort looks like on the inside facing the pool, where you walk into the cafeteria and gift shop. Through those doors, that's where I ship my stuff as well back home. And here's a pretty good picture of the gondolas, the Skyliner, and there's the C-3PO and R2-D2. And it's just like one big kind of continuous loop of these transportation set up here. And it's pretty cool because it runs on a line, it runs on a cable, then it runs on a track once it gets to the station. And it's an awesome way to travel. I'm definitely maybe looking into staying at the Caribbean beach next time, because
I think that one's probably my favorite resort out of them all.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And so this was Star Wars Day, and there it is. The Falcon got to get on Smuggler's Run, right? That's what it's called.
Yep.
And
that's right to the left of this.
Right. So you line up around the Falcon, and once you're in line, you can look outside the window, look at all the angles of the ship, and it's wild to see it in person, and it's there. And it's life size. You look at the cockpit, you like measure it up, and it's like, yeah, people could fit in there.
Mm-hmm. It's weird because like every time I look at it, I'm like thinking of that one scene in Empire Strikes Back where Chewie's like up on top of it, like fixing it, and you're like,
yeah.
You think about looking up at it, and you see the characters do that, but like, and then you find yourself in that same position of those characters looking up at it, and you're like, wow, this is real.
Yeah, and there's a lot of detail inside. If you look there, you can see the training droid that Luke used, and Finn plucked out of a bag in The Force Awakens.
I also see a pork nest there off to the left.
Yeah.
Inside of that little pod.
Yep. There were several nests there. And just the detail, man. The hallway. It looks just like the movies.
The insulation and the piping. That's so cool.
Yeah. Here's another shot that I took of it, and it just kind of looks unreal. Doesn't look.
And then you got the spires of Batu right behind it, with the hangar that it's in, like built into it. It's so cool how like it looks like the rock is swallowing the base. It's so cool. I love that bird just like chilling and then like making a cameo in your picture.
So there's a story behind that bird. So when you're in Batu, you will hear TIE fighters scream overhead. And the first time we heard that, we looked up and we saw this bird fly across. So it's like the bird made the noise. So yeah, it was hilarious.
I also like that when the stormtroopers come out and they hear a TIE fighter fly overhead, they actually look up.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they're like acknowledging the sound, which makes it like that much more like 4D, you know?
Yeah. So I went to Docking Bay 7. I heard you talk about Docking Bay 7. You went to Docking Bay 7. Yes. We ate at Ronto Roasters, but I went to Docking Bay 7 later on, and I got the tip yip, I believe, the chicken.
Oh,
and that was okay. But I also ordered the Batu Bon, which was a dessert.
Oh, I almost got that. And I was like, you know what?
It's really good, man. I'm not like a real big sweets guy, but this was awesome. So the top part there, it's like a chocolate coin. It has the kind of signage of Galaxy's Edge imprinted on it. And then right below that top portion is cheesecake with the glaze on it. Then below that is a chocolate brownie. and then there's some like kind of bread there as well, and then off to the side it's like some tangy sauce. It all tasted really good. It was all
Nice.
fresh, and yeah,
That's a cool looking plate.
yeah.
I don't know why I'm like, this plate looks dirty, but it's not. It's just really cool and clean.
And of course, it was May 4th, so I was looking for May 4th merch, and the stuff that I found, I bought, and here it is right here. A couple of pens, and then some stuff for the Bad Batch, and then this magic band that they had there in the gift shop. So that's what I bought on day 1, or day 2, I should say, which was Star Wars Day for me. So the next day, I believe we were in line, and this was actually an older video that I wasn't aware of, but Moses Ingram was actually practicing her lightsaber moves, and a lot of people think she's going to be young Ahsoka. So apparently she's going to be a lightsaber wielding character. So I think it's leaning towards more so as her being young Ahsoka now. I don't know. What do you think?
This is the first time I'm seeing this picture actually.
Yeah,
I
it's actually a
think
video
that,
she posted on Instagram.
well, yeah, I'm not. I probably should follow her on Instagram, but I don't. I like the idea of her playing the young Ahsoka, especially when it comes to the Ahsoka series. And I don't know much about, because none of us really do, about the casting. So I would be totally welcome and open to the idea of her doing it. Obviously, does she do well in this video? I don't know.
Yeah, she did pretty good. I mean, it seemed like she was pretty fluid.
I'm just wondering where she is at right now. Like, what is this? It looks like, I don't even know.
Yeah,
This facility, like, there's like hanging light structures above her, but it's just in a warehouse of some sort. And it looks like they're putting some kind of flooring in. What's going on here, man?
Yeah, I don't know. But there's a tradition we have. So we've been to Orlando. We went to Star Wars Celebration back in 2017, and
Yep.
Carl and I discovered this really great seafood place. It's called Boston Lobster. We're kind of doing a plug for the place now, but
Yeah, I saw
it's
your
all you
your
can
story
eat.
with.
Yeah, it's all you can eat seafood. So that's lobster, shrimp, scallops, snow crab, all you can eat. So when you walk out the front, they have delivery vehicles, and I think to deliver it's like $150 or something
Oh yeah, they got
outrageous.
that weird little animal. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's a lobster on top of a Volkswagen Beetle. So
How do you even? I hope. Is there like a leg over the driver's side door? Can you even get in any of the other doors?
maybe they have to go through the back. I don't know.
I
Or the
wish you got a
front,
picture of the other
because it's a
side. What?
Volkswagen. Yeah, we were too hyped up. So once I got in there, they slapped a bib on me. And I heard someone in the next table ask for a cherry Pepsi. So I asked for the same thing, and it's actually Pepsi, and they stick cherries in it. That's a cherry Pepsi over there.
They said screw you.
Well, I mean, the waitress, I heard her say, anything you guys request, we'll try and meet your need. I mean, just let us know. We'll figure it out. So I don't know to what lengths they would go to
That's
give
funny.
you what you want, but apparently, I mean, they're just trying to make you as happy as possible. And I was really happy because I love
You seem
seafood.
really happy right there. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go ahead and say they did a good job.
So the next day, we had an appointment to build our own lightsabers, and they give you this card, and there's a tray outside where you pick which overall design you would like, and I picked the top one, I believe, which is more light side. And I gotta say, this was probably one of the better experiences there, because once you go into the room, of course, it's just 90 plus degrees outside. Then when you go to this cool room, you have this cast member here, and he's totally in character, and he's talking about the history of Jedi and lightsabers, what they mean to the Jedi, and what they mean to Force wielders. And he interacts with you, he talks to you, and it's a big presentation. And he talks to you about every single part of the lightsaber that you're about to build. And it was awesome. It was, and there's music playing. John Williams is playing in the background as well. And it's time to, I guess, his script that he delivers. And every time he references a character, it felt like their theme came on. And he talks about Yoda, Qui-Gon, Luke. So yeah, you build it from scratch, from the kyber crystal to all the pieces that go on your hilt, and it was pretty awesome. I totally recommend. If there's one thing that you can do over there at Galaxy's Edge, I think it's this, the lightsaber building, because it was a pretty cool experience. And of course, we ended up with a full blown lightsaber that works kind of like a Force FX lightsaber, and the hilt is detachable. And at Doc Ondor's, which is pretty close to it, I wanted to buy a legacy lightsaber, which I've been wanting to buy for almost 40 years now, I can say. And I bought it, and here it is. It's Luke's lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. And I don't have it with me because I shipped it from Orlando to Texas. So it should get here in about 7 to 10 business days, apparently. So,
well,
I finally have it, finally own it, and it's beautiful. I'm going to display it somewhere in my office here, and I'll probably show it off on the podcast once it gets here.
Well, you have your ship from you, right? But that's really unfortunate. But I didn't have mine shipped, and I actually have it here. And like I know that like you got Luke's, and actually so did Colin. He got Luke's too, which is great. I'll turn that off for a second. But I got Anakin Skywalker, so I'll just put that up here. This is what I got.
Nice.
Right here. This is the hilt. It's actually pretty. This is one of the heavier Legends lightsabers that they had available, and they let you hold them, and they like get you feel them and stuff like that. And this is actually the first one that I held, and I was like, "This is the one. This is the one I want." I didn't even have to look at the other ones. I mean, I wanted this one, and like, I think I probably should have gotten the Ahsoka Tano Clone Wars while I was there, because they were still available to me, but I didn't because I don't know. Brooke got the Clone Wars era Ahsoka ones, which had literally come out on May the 4th. We were one of the first people to get in there and get them, actually. And then they very quickly sold out due to some idiotic things I will not say. But yeah, so this is one I got. I know it appears white to you, but I promise you she be blue. Ow. Her hand.
Yeah, that's
really hot.
awesome.
Yeah. So I have to buy a new shelving unit because I've run out of shelf space to display in my living room, so I have to buy another shelf. But once I do, that'll be main center stage. And then as soon as Colin decides he wants to buy me a freaking Rebel pilot helmet, that will also go on that shelf.
Nice.
And he'll get you one too.
Yeah, hopefully. And yeah, so we went to go look at the helmets. They didn't have that particular helmet, the Luke Skywalker.
No, they only have the Resistance era ones, and I was like,
yeah, they had Poe Dameron, they had another Resistance, but
they've had those, but they just gotten the Rebel pilot helmets like about a month before in Galaxy's Edge, and they were unfortunately sold out the day of May 4th, which doesn't make sense to me. I figured they would want to be in stock of all their merchandise, but for some reason they didn't have that.
Yeah,
and we were one of the first people there, because those ones don't open up till 9, but we got into Hollywood Studios at like 8:10 was when they opened the gates. So we were in Hollywood Studios at like not even 8:15, and they didn't open those things up till 9. So we sat there and waited until 9, and they were like, "No, we don't have any." And I was like, "I waited here just to be told you don't have any. That's great." Okay.
Yeah.
But
so they also released Princess Leia's lightsaber, right?
They did. I didn't know that because when we first went to the lightsaber shop, they weren't there. They released them like halfway through the May the 4th. They didn't have them on display in the morning. I don't know why. Either they didn't have them literally until I don't know why they didn't have them when we were there that morning, but they had them later in the afternoon. So I didn't get a chance to see them, but yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah.
And we actually ran into a friend of the podcast, one of the members. What's the name of the gentleman who's the axe thrower that we sponsor?
Josh Russo. Here he is right here.
Yeah, this is Josh. And he actually managed to get his hands on the Leia Organa lightsaber. So he let me yep, there it is. He let us see it.
Yeah.
He was actually, oddly enough, he was in line behind me when we went to buy our Legends lightsaber. I was just me standing there by myself, and then he said, "Hey, I really like your shirt, and I love the podcast." And then went, "Hey, thanks. It's so glad to hear that you're a listener." He's like, "I'm actually more than a listener. You guys sponsor me." And then he had his friend who was wearing his axe throwing T-shirt. And he told him to turn around, and our name was in the bottom corner of all the list of sponsors. I was like, "That's really cool." Our podcast name is on his T-shirt. And this was literally like 9, not even 9 in the morning. It was like 8:30 in the morning. Like one of the first lines that I was standing in, and then someone had already said something. And that was the first of many people who would go on to recognize the podcast on Star Wars Day.
Yes, Josh contacted us a couple years ago now, I think. And he was like, "Hey,
maybe."
He was like, "Would you guys be interested in sponsoring me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What for?" He's like, "Axe throwing." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be on ESPN throwing axes." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, we'll sponsor you."
Yeah.
And yeah, he's really cool. We met. He's a really cool guy. He's really nice. And yeah, he let me pose with his Leia saber that he had. He connected the blade for me. And this is like right there, kind of in the middle of Galaxy's Edge there. And I'm
you remember the bathrooms, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yep, I know exactly where you are.
Yeah.
it's a good spot because you're like out of the sun, it's in the shade,
yeah,
and it's off to the side. You're not in the way of anyone's walking. It's like nice.
Yeah, so it worked out, man.
I also like the fact that and you will attest to this, that the bathrooms in Galaxy's Edge are even detailed just like that of a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah,
down to the Dyson hand dryers that are like that are copper and steel diminished and like very rustic looking. And I'm like, what the hell is this awesomeness? Go to the bathroom and I'm in the world.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, we tried again for Rise of the Resistance for the next day, and we got it. We got Group 52, and we got to ride it again.
Pretty nice. 52. It's not 26, but it's 52.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Or 24.
24.
So yeah, we went to the market the second to last day, I believe. And here's some of the stuff that they had on display. It's pretty cool. They got a loth cap.
These are not for sale. I know.
Yeah,
you said market. I just want people to understand you can't buy a bust like that of Chewbacca, even though I would gladly buy one right away.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. But yeah,
or that porg up top.
Yeah,
that's great.
And then one of the doors has this on it, which if you've seen the deleted scene of The Empire Strikes Back, there was a Wampa hiding behind it.
And so cool definitely don't open that door. Yes.
And of course, I had to buy me a game of Sabacc, and I finally bought me one from Galaxy's Edge, so it's 100% legit. And
can't be faked.
Yeah, cannot be faked. And we ended up going to Doc Ondor's because my buddy Carl wanted to get a blade for one of his sabers. I believe wanted to get a longer blade. So we went there, and it just happened that they found more of the legacy Luke and Leia sabers that come in this special box. When you open it, it's basically the scene from The Rise of Skywalker when Rey buries the sabers in that cloth and the leather strap. And this is what the box looks like. You open the box, it plays music. I believe the same music that plays when Rey is burying the sabers. And it's basically Leia's and Luke's reforged saber with the leather strip on it with the separation damage.
Yep.
And of course, I don't have it with me. I shipped it too because the corners of this box seem like they could easily dent, break off, whatever. So mine stayed sealed. He opened his. We checked it out. It's awesome. And you referenced the entrance to Galaxy's Edge. That's the entrance we would go through because Star Tours is right behind us.
Yeah.
In this picture.
There's also like Muppet Vision 3Ds off to your left. And,
yeah.
Yep.
And of course,
and,
we got
it
on.
Doesn't look that much like Galaxy's Edge, like on this side, because it just looks like Hollywood Studios. But from the other side, like when you're like leaving, coming the opposite direction that you are, it's so cool.
Yeah. So of course we rode the Falcon again, Smuggler's Run, and we took more pictures on the inside, the chess table, that area where I believe Finn lays down in The Force Awakens.
Or Chewie because he gets shot in the arm, and then Finn's helping him out.
Oh yeah. I said it backwards. So yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I got you.
But someone else does lay in there, don't they? It's Luke, I know
Luke.
from
Yep.
Empire, but wasn't there someone else? I thought there was someone
Uh,
else.
it's not Finn for sure. I don't know if anyone else. I can only think of Luke and Chewie.
And here's a section from Empire Strikes Back where Han and Leia almost kiss, and C-3PO interrupts them.
Idiot.
Yeah. A lot of people pose, a lot of couples pose in there and take
Yeah.
pictures.
And then
Which it's
like
off
the
to the
people that
right
don't
hand side.
understand are like, what are they doing over there? And I'm like, they're
So yeah, we decide to meet up again for dinner, and we Colin decides to go to Planet Hollywood in Disney Springs. So we end up going there, and it's actually Guy Fieri is actually one of the guys, I guess, that kind of endorses the place. And yeah, I took his picture there. And off to the back part, there's memorabilia all over Planet Hollywood from Hollywood. And there's a TIE fighter back there and a Vader helmet. And several of the people at the table got up and took a closer look.
I climbed up on top of the
Yeah.
so I could get really close.
And you guys are like, that TIE fighter is backwards and upside down.
Yeah.
And I think Sam was the one that said, yeah, the front of it is actually damaged. That's probably why they had it like that.
Yeah, the window to the port is like busted out. Like there wasn't a window there, so they like hit it. And I was like, why'd you hide it upside down, you idiot?
Yeah.
And then there's Vader's helmet, which is actually missing two sections of it. It doesn't have the dome over top, and it's actually doesn't have the back half of the helmet, and it's actually kind of damaged, like significantly, probably from shooting, but it is worn in Empire Strikes Back by David Prose, and it has a plaque right above it that says that. And then there is the blaster that Hondo used in Bespin City, which is on that top upper left hand corner. And then in the right corner of the center, we're all talking about the center Star Wars themed section here.
Yeah.
And on the top right corner, there's actually an arrow that was from the Ewoks on Endor, or the moon of Endor, actually, in Return of the Jedi. I didn't recognize it until I got up close. I was like, what is that random stick? And then I realized it was a really tiny arrow. And I was like, oh, that's a cute stick. And then the bottom is just pictures of the set and behind the scenes pictures from films.
Yeah, we had a really cool waiter too. I believe his name was Patrick. And he said he was from the South. And I was like, yeah, I am too. And he really showed us a lot of Southern hospitality there. And I think he had a fondness for you, Matt.
Okay.
And you guys kept on talking back and forth.
I was just being nice, David.
And
there was also a Mandalorian TK armor that is on display at this restaurant. I don't know if you have a picture of that, but that's on the other side of the restaurant.
I sure do. It's right here.
And Colin and Sam were actually in the middle of a debate upon the origins of this TK. They have differing opinions. Colin seems to think that it was owned by a 501st official member, and they sold it to Hollywood Studios. And then it is in fact an RS design, that same one that Colin sports when he is trooping. Sam seems to think otherwise. Colin says that the distinction that identifies it as an RS design is the gloves. I don't know anything about that. But I did take a much closer look, and I saw some pretty funny wear and tear on the actual TK. Like there's a couple of cracks on the armor, like telling you that it's actually like being used. It's not just something that was bought online, and that it has actual, like, it's worn. And like obviously Planet Hollywood just bought it from whoever they got it from, whether it be a 501st member or straight from Lucasfilm or some sort.
Yeah, Colin's theory doesn't make a lot of sense. If it was a 501st member that wore that armor on set and he appeared in the show, it's screen used, it qualifies to be at Planet Hollywood. So
yeah, and I think Colin's justification is that it would be worth a lot of money to the guy, so he would be motivated to sell it.
Yeah,
like, okay, that makes sense, but for some reason Sam just disagrees, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care. This is a fight that I'm not even involved in. I'm just watching, honestly.
So yeah, you actually wrote a note to our server as well.
I did.
Is it okay if I put it up on the screen? I took a picture of it.
Yeah, sure. I was wondering why you did, but now I understand. Says, thank you for being awesome. Sorry for my handwriting, guys. I just want to read it out for you. It says, thank you for being awesome. Made my first Hollywood or Planet Hollywood experience great. Follow the podcast at Star Wars Stuff Podcasts if you were as nerdy as we.
Yeah.
And that's the name. And then I left him a hefty tip, hoping that he would go ahead and do that.
He said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll follow your podcast, which was awesome. He did that. And then of course we took a picture of all of us together right in front of the TIE fighter and the Vader mask.
Unfortunately, it's obvious that I've had like 3 drinks. I look loosened up.
Yeah, so from left to right, it's Matt, Brooke, Colin, Sam, Carl, Craig, and me. So
hello.
Yeah, it is.
And then we're being photobombed by Darth Vader in the background.
Yeah.
I also thought it was cool that they had like they had Chewie. I was just about to say that. They had a Chewbacca. And which era is this one?
Original trilogy. This is from A New Hope.
I wanted to say that too, but I was like, I don't know. But either way, he needs a brush. It's very obvious, and it's not just with like the Star Wars stuff.
So if you're not watching us on the YouTube, go to YouTube and check out all the pictures here that I just posted.
I was gonna say we're like making references to like pictures, but a lot of you can't see these. But we're looking at Chewbacca right now, and he like it's obvious that like Planet Hollywood, they receive these items of significant value, and they leave them just as they were given to them, whether it would be from bad shipping or whatever. But Chewie looks a little rougher than the average bear. And his he has a major hard part in his head hair. But it's still extremely impressive nonetheless to have an original Chewbacca from the original trilogy.
Yeah,
on display.
Right up in the front. Yeah.
And this is just one of 6 locations that Planet Hollywood has. So I'm just imagining how much film memorabilia that they own, and I'm like, wow, they have so much just at this one. And it makes sense that they would want to display the most Star Wars related memorabilia at their Orlando location. But and I'm extremely grateful that they did in fact have that many. Or maybe they just have a regular amount of Star Wars, like they have this amount of everyone, and we just seek them out as we do. But yeah, it was super cool to see him. And he's right in the entrance too. Like there's a stairwell up to the dining area from the main lobby, and he is like one of the first things you see. It's him, Spider-Man from Spider-Man 3, with Tobey Maguire. And then it's the Superman, but I can't remember which year it is or which actor.
The very first, Christopher Reeves. Yeah,
it was that one. It was the nice bright like cyan blue, not cyan blue, but like almost turquoise, and he has the underwear, and that one. And they're like on either side of the staircase, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So I flew back yesterday, and I actually used Spirit Airlines, and everyone that I talked to about Spirit didn't really have a lot of nice things to say about the airline, but my experience is pretty good. I got there and I was expecting the worst, but overall it was a great flight going there and coming back. The only difference between them and Southwest, who I usually fly on, you didn't get free peanuts, free water. You'd have to pay for that. So that was the only difference. Other than that, it was pretty good. Same planes.
I usually fly like American Airlines when I go to Florida, but this past time I flew Frontier because I was flying with Sam. And Frontier is also another same tier in terms of quality and price to Spirit. I also have nothing but pretty neutral or positive experience with Frontier. They're really cheap, but not like to the point that like your experience is lesser. So I couldn't recline my damn chair, which is a product of Frontier, but whatever.
Yeah, you couldn't recline in Spirit. You could move slightly, but
which is it's one of the reasons that I love. I've grown up like all my life flying American Airlines. That's like the airline that my family goes towards. It used to be Delta, but then like Delta did us dirty a while ago with like a pricing thing, so we don't go to them anymore. But
okay. So that was the trip in a nutshell. I think on Patreon, I'm gonna post a lot more pictures and
Yeah,
go a
once
little
you
bit
get all
more
your
into detail.
memorabilia and all from
Yeah,
the ship back to you.
definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, the trip was awesome. It was great seeing you guys in person. Great hanging out, eating dinner, and
The
just
only thing that we didn't do together was watch The Bad Batch. We did pretty much everything else
yes,
together.
yeah, that dropped on May 4th, like they said it would, and the episode
And another one on
was
Friday as well.
an hour and 10 minutes, I believe. And yeah,
7.
so we got 2 episodes during Star Wars week. I guess you could call it Star Wars month, first
Yeah,
week of
month as well.
May. Yeah. So what did you think of episode 1 and 2?
I have now seen episode 1 3 times, and I've seen episode 2 twice. I love that, like the exact moment that like the episode starts in episode 1, you're completely back immersed just as you remember it with the Clone Wars. And like I said, every scene that I have Clone Wars related is more meaningful to me because I grew up watching that television show. Like literally, like every Saturday morning with cartoons was my thing. And I know Colin will attest to that too. So it was very meaningful, and like there was a lot of sentiment when Kane came over in the background. Tom Kane speaking as narrator in the background, and you see multiple clone battles in a montage setting as he speaks over top of them, and then we go straight to a Jedi and her apprentice on a mission, and then it turns out that we actually know that Jedi, we know both of them, but we recognize the Padawan learner from a TV show called Star Wars Rebels, also made by Filoni. So and Favreau was so it's. I love that they tie things over in those two, but my experience with the first episode, the fact that it's 72 minutes, we learn and we travel so much, and then we get to look a lot more into the bond of the Bad Batch and Clone Force 99 and how they work and treat each other, like honestly. But the fact that like this episode started with Order 66, which is, in my opinion, one of the most horrendous and like dark things to come out of Star Wars, like just the genocide of an entire like people. It's dark, and the fact that like Disney is exploiting that, not exploiting it, but like it's I don't know. It's I just like that they went straight for Order 66. Me personally, but it's like wow, they're like jumping right in the deep end with it. Right, we're starting right away with it. And it like really hops off the back of season 7, the final season of the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
And I love it just feels like you're like literally going from one scene to the next. It felt like there was no pause, and I like that it's seamless.
Yeah, it felt very cinematic. It felt visceral in a way that I don't think most of the episodes for Clone Wars and season 7 and Rebels didn't feel most of the time. And the fact that we got to see Kanan as a young Caleb apprentice to Deba Blaba and see her in action, that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we were all introduced to the Bad Batch in Clone Wars season 7, and I had somewhat kind of feelings like, well, why do we really need this show? But with Order 66 and the places they could go, they could fill in the gaps. I love it when they fill in the gaps. They go back. It's prequel era stuff, and it's getting closer to the original trilogy, and just to find out exactly what was going on. And we got to see characters like Grand Moff Tarkin show up, Saw Gerrera show up, and of course Kanan as a young apprentice, and really kind of flesh out the history of Star Wars. I think this is a great show to do that. And of course, we get introduced to Omega, and we had a lot of questions about her, and we didn't know if it was a he or a she, and we find out, yeah, she's female. And we also find out she's a clone, and she is kind of like the Bad Batch in that she's different from the regs, and that's what made Hunter want to go back for her when they left Camino. And at Planet Hollywood, Colin was telling me that Sam was thinking that we're going to see Camino destroyed eventually, and maybe see an Order 66 on the clones,
Yep.
which would
That
be
was the theory
very
we talked about at
heartbreaking
length.
and disturbing. Yeah.
And it's just weird because like it's funny because like you always thought about like, well, what happened to the clones? Why didn't they like continue them? Because obviously clone troopers are far superior to that of the stormtroopers that precede them. So we're like, what idiot thought it was a good idea to get rid of the clones and go with like a hired gun? And then like in the first episode, it's like Tarkin was the idiot. It was Tarkin. Tarkin did it. It was stupid.
Yeah, and you see in one of those scenes that one of the Kaminoans actually helps the Bad Batch escape.
Yep. She like I love that.
So there's some sympathy there. So maybe that's
I don't
maybe
think
a
that
part of the
that
downfall
was
of
more
Kamino.
sympathy because the character who in fact did the
Yeah, I think Matt was gonna say Nala Se. I believe that was her name. Yeah, she helps override the blast door, I believe, that's closing on the ship, and the ship actually gets to take off. And we see it right there. The Kaminoans actually helped the cause of the resistance, the early rebellion. So I'm interested to see how that plays out, and I'm also interested to see if Tarkin is going to become aware of that, and that is one of the deciding factors just to wipe out Camino, and that'd be super sad. Hopefully Matt comes back here. Looks like he lost his connection. He was telling me he was having some issues. So yeah, episode 2 as well dropped. They go off and actually find some friends that were deserters, and it's a point that I believe Tech, one of the Bad Batch, talk about the fact that is it okay if we trust them? They're deserters, and I think Hunter brought up the point that they're deserters too. So they actually had kids on the planet, and I was just talking about episode 2 here.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
It was like, you're gonna restart now. And I was like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah.
We're good.
So yeah, Omega actually has children her age to actually interact with. And you can tell that she has like no idea like how to be a kid essentially. And even when she stepped off the ship, she was amazed by dirt because she's never been off of Camino, that water planet that has no dirt.
Or sun for that matter. She like
Yeah.
opened the thing open and she was like, oh my god, what is that? She's like a bat like seeing light for the first time. I noticed that was the first thing I noticed. Like she was like blinded, and I was like, what are you doing? It's just she's never seen the sun. She's never seen the sun. Sorry. That's what I felt like.
And she'd never seen hyperspace. That was an awesome sequence too of her.
Yeah, because he was like, you're gonna want to sit down for this, and he stood up, and I was like, what's going on? And then she like watched Tech press the buttons that would get him ready to activate hyperspace, and he did it. And I like that like we got to sit in the spot and see things from Omega's perspective and see that. And I was, as I saw it, I was realizing that I was like, oh, she's seeing this all for the first time, and she's watching Tech like do the behind the scenes stuff, and you get to see like, oh, what's about to happen, and then you just see her just, and then
I believe you see it in her eyes too.
Yeah, you get to see the reflection of hyperspace in her eyes, and I was like, wow, that is some ingenious cinematic like ingenuity that exists in a cartoon. Like this isn't even live action, people. This is a cartoon of people. These aren't real people.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just cool, and I love the style that the Clone Wars is in. I love it more so than I do Rebels. I'm sure other people feel the opposite, or they don't like. And I know a lot of people, they don't like. I don't like watching the Clone Wars. It's like, why? It's an amazing show. They're like, I don't like animation. And I was like, okay, well, you need to get over that because it's a great show.
But, there's some really great episodes, and I'm gonna follow along. And I also bought these pins here from Galaxy's Edge of Bad Batch, and I think.
And I love that Yeah, I love that his helmet's the one that spins, and he's the one that ends up spinning out.
Yeah, that's true. And
It's
then,
like they were hinting at it.
yeah,
It's great. And I love that we get to experience this for 15 weeks because they're doing 16 episodes and they're releasing it once a week every Friday. Oh,
yeah,
and we got 2 episodes in 1 week, so only 15 weeks. But like that's all summer. I get to like look forward to watching an episode of The Bad Batch all summer. That's gonna keep me going, honestly.
yeah.
It's gonna get me through the week.
Yeah, 16 total episodes. We got 14 left. So yeah, I'm hyped for it. I think there's opportunity there to bring in some really big characters. We know Fennec Shan's gonna show up, but yeah, we got Saul Guerrera, and of course Rex is gonna show up eventually, and maybe some Baby Yoda stuff, some Grogu stuff. I mean,
we are in for quite a treat, and maybe a few surprises.
Yeah, that's all on the table, man. So yeah, early reviews of The Bad Batch are that critics and fans have really responded to it, and it's got a really high score on some of these websites that do the scoring for shows and movies. So it's pretty well received. I haven't heard any malice towards it or anything. It's Dave Filoni does it again, and it totally works. And I believe there's actually 3 directors that worked on these first 2 episodes combined. And at the very end of the episode, it says created by Dave Filoni, based on characters created by George Lucas. And I think that's really cool that he has that at the very end, that this is a Dave Filoni creation. He didn't work with the Bad Batch show directly, but of course he's doing his consulting work, and he's busy working on Ahsoka, the live action series, as well.
There was 3 directors on the first episode. It was Stuart Lee, Saul Ruiz, and Nathaniel Villanueva. That's it. And it was written by Dave Filoni and Jennifer Corbett. Yep. And then I don't know about episode 2. Okay, hold on. As soon as it loads. Okay. Episode 2 was directed by just solely Stuart Lee.
Ah, okay. All right. So yeah, on Star Wars Day, Dave Filoni was interviewed on Good Morning America, like what usually happens when something big Star Wars happens. So on May the 4th, he was on GMA in the morning, and Michael Strahan was interviewing him. And I believe he asked him if he had any info on The Mandalorian Season 3. And of course, Dave Filoni's not going to say anything. He said he's working on the stuff. There's stuff that he cannot talk about. But he did drop kind of a hint, I think. He said the Force will be strong in The Mandalorian Season 3. So what could that mean? We all know that Din Djarin has the Darksaber. We know that Luke is involved now in the show. He could show up. We've talked about it in the past.
What,
how are they
going to
possibly? Yeah, that would be awesome. How would Grogu come back? When is he going to come back? Because I think it's a foregone conclusion he's coming back.
Maybe him saying the Force is strong is his way of saying there will be like Force wielders, whether it be Luke or Grogu, or I don't know, maybe Ahsoka will make her way back, or maybe they'll find a way to have ties or introduction into the Ahsoka series that's has yet to be, or that's still in the works in pre-production.
So do you think there's any possibility that Din Djarin becomes or is Force sensitive and becomes maybe the next Jedi Mandalorian?
No,
not at all.
No, because, and here's why. I think that if he has been exposed to like the Force in legitimate ways, because it's obvious when a Jedi is speaking with Grogu, because they can hear Grogu, like they communicate in non-verbal ways. And if that were the case, don't you think that Grogu may have attempted to reach out to Din Djarin had he been Force sensitive in any manner of the so?
Well, maybe he did attempt to reach out to him. It's just Din Djarin doesn't know how to communicate that way. Maybe he just hasn't tried.
I guess I don't know how the Force works, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that I do not know how the Force works, and in that way. But if I had to give a guess, I imagine that if Grogu had, I feel like Grogu would have had some sort of knowledge, and maybe that's the reason why he was so attached to Din Djarin. by the end of it. You see it. That
Yeah,
could
we don't
be the
know
reason
everything.
why. But I don't know. I think that he would have noticed by now, especially even if Din Djarin didn't figure it out. Why would Ahsoka Tano not figure it out or say anything? Like, you think she would sense a force sensitive individual and be like, I'm not gonna tell him. He doesn't know, so I'm not gonna let him know. I just think that Ahsoka would have said something, and she definitely would have noticed, because it's like kind of like, when another person's in the room that's just like you, right? Whether it be with the force or who smells bad.
Well,
I don't know.
Ahsoka seemed like she was like a pragmatist, I mean, she's not gonna say things that really don't need to be said. And the fact that Grogu already trusted Din, and Grogu can't communicate with Din that way. Maybe Grogu sensed it all along. Maybe it wasn't just about Din being a fatherly figure. Maybe Grogu actually sensed more in him, and he just hasn't tried to. He hasn't been trained. Maybe he's just one of those people that really needs to.
I don't know. Anything's possible. So
Yeah.
I would be surprised, but I can't say that it's not possible. I'm gonna lean towards no. I don't think Din Djarin is force sensitive. I think he's just skilled.
So there was a report here that Knights of the Republic will be remade and will be released, but it'll be slightly different with more of a combat action-oriented structure for the game. So if you played Knights of the Republic back in the day, it was a straight-up RPG. You throw a hit, your opponent throws a hit, you trade hits. If they did it more like arcadey in a way, I would be more into that. I don't know if it would upset RPG fans, but there was a tweet that was sent out here on the Min-Max show. It says, when talking about the nature of breaking news and revealing games in development, Jason Schreier sheds more light on the remake of the Knights of the Old Republic, and that's where he talked about the fact that there's probably going to be more sophisticated combat and less RPG, it seems. So I'm looking forward to that. I have it on my phone. I don't have the remake, but I believe the version that I have on my phone is a little bit better graphics wise, and takes a while to play it. It's a pretty good RPG. It's one of the classic RPGs, even outside of Star Wars. I think it's a classic game. So if you have a chance to play it, try not to be spoiled. Although it's kind of ubiquitous now. There's an I am your father moment in the game. So be careful if you haven't played it and haven't been spoiled. But I'm looking forward to that. I'll probably buy it. Also on the game front, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is rumored to be released in 2023. And Cameron Monaghan released a Twitter video of him pushing a broom and then using it as a weapon. And he's got some pretty good moves, actually. I'm not quite sure. Did he do motion capture for Jedi Fallen Order?
I don't know. I can't say whether or not he did. But I know of the video you're talking about, and I was like, he's got some skills.
Yeah, definitely.
Much like that our own podcaster Colin is with wielding a lightsaber, as you've seen probably. But I think that a lot of like Star Wars actors we've seen like have like that ability to like just like play around with lightsaber, and like they're like untrained, and I'm like, what? You can do that? Why don't we like put this person on this? Yeah. And I think it's really cool, and I think that it's really good timing too, because with Cal Kestis' lightsaber going on sale as a Legends lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge in the fall, I think that's also really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool, and I think a lot of fans have embraced Cal Kestis as well, and consider him
like it because it was they had like multiple they had a voting to decide which lightsaber they would include in Legends in the future, and they voted, and the Kestis was the most popular one.
Yeah,
that people voted for. So obviously, people are starting to come around and like Jedi the Fallen Order. I mean, I have literally this ship right here is from Jedi the Fallen Order. I have this model ship on display in my bedroom. So like, I like Jedi the Fallen Order.
Yeah,
and it's just it's something that caught on quick, and it's just a video game, which is cool because like it's cool to see that something that's not even a film, but has many cinematic qualities in it. If you've played the video game, you can tell that the campaign is full of cinematic moments. But that's all really it is, though, which is why a lot of people were like kind of questioning of it. It's mostly just a campaign-oriented game. It's not like a multiplayer thing. Well, I mean, there is, but like, it's not the same as like any like first-person like shooter game that people might be used to, like whether it be like Halo, Destiny, Call of Duty, all those kind of things. It's different, but it's kind of the same at the same time. Right. Where it is a first-person, but it's mostly story-oriented and cinematic. Right. Which is obvious because it's built by Microsoft.
Yeah, if you haven't played the game, if you don't have time to play the game, you can actually watch all the cinematics on YouTube and learn the story that way. If you,
it's a long campaign. I think it took me like 10 days. I didn't play it like continuously. Like if you play it continuously for like, I'm sure you could get it done in like 3 days.
Yeah.
Because I think it has like 15 or 18 hours of play for the campaign, which is just slightly above average in my opinion for like first person campaign games. 15 to 18 hours. Yeah. I want to look at it now.
So yeah, we have more Andor news to talk about. It seems like we talk about Andor all the time now on the podcast, which I think it's flying totally on the radar, and fans are just kind of.
This one says
not really
14 to 18. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it says roughly 14 to 18 hours. Yep.
So yeah, I think fans aren't looking forward to Andor as much, but I think as time passes, we're going to see more and more glimpses of Andor. And apparently some fans were near the set of where they're shooting right now, and they spotted shore troopers along with Cassian on set, along with a guy in a motion capture gray suit. So who could that be? I don't know. There's already been reports of Wookiees on set. So I don't think it's K2SO. It wasn't someone.
I like they got a Wookiee sighting here. We got a Wookiee sighting in Bay 13.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope there are Wookiees. Maybe not Chewbacca. If Chewbacca shows up, that's cool. But if we get another different character that's a Wookiee, that would be really cool. But
that would be.
They also could just be background characters as well. So there's that.
But
yeah, Shore Troopers are showing back up in Andor, so I know that makes Sam happy.
It does.
As a Shore Trooper that he got approved by the 501st.
Yeah, Sam 3D printed from scratch using his own materials to make and painted his own 501st 501st approved costume, and he's actually like one of the Shore Trooper captains because oddly enough, there's not that many Shore Troopers up here in Michigan. And with the Hoss Squadron, we're oddly enough surrounded by water on 3 sides of our state, but not that many Shore Troopers. Maybe he'll try to recruit me to be a Shore Trooper with him. I don't know.
You ought to, man. I mean,
I'll do it if he prints it for me.
Yeah, it's a nice suit, and I believe
he said it was about
as well.
I think he said he put about 200 hours of work and print time into it when you add it up.
Wow. But yeah, it looks great. I wouldn't mind getting a Shore Trooper kit.
That'd be pretty dope. We know a guy who can make them.
Yeah.
I was like, I will give you $400 plus material costs.
Yeah, we know a guy.
We do.
So a good omen has happened on the set of Andor. A storm hit the set.
Which sounds like a bad thing, but it's not. Well,
yeah, because if you look all the way back to the original Star Wars, A New Hope, back in Tunisia, storm hit there as well. And then when they went back to Tunisia for episode 1, a huge storm hit there, that location, and also in The Empire Strikes Back in Norway, and a huge blizzard happened. And yeah, this is a great omen, I think, for Andor. And I've been saying it all along that Andor is going to be a sleeper, great hit of a TV show. And everyone's just going to be like, why wasn't everyone talking about this? But we're talking about it right now. So
yeah, I mean, I mean, we're a pretty big podcast, so I assume that people will be like, "Oh yeah, we agree with the Star Wars Stuff podcast. It is going to be huge." And then
it's
wake up, people, while
yeah.
you still can. Don't get left in the dust.
Yeah.
They're all distracted by the other series, the Kenobi series, and they're distracted by the big names, the Ahsoka Tano,
And of course, Bad Batch is happening right now. But I also wanted to mention while I was at Galaxy's Edge, I was actually putting up lenses on Patreon. Lenses is kind of like Snapchat in a way. You can post pictures and video, and a lot of our patrons were actually viewing them, and I would see the analytics of everyone watching it. So it was pretty cool that I could do that in real time, and everyone could just check in and
oh
check
man,
that out.
imagine what it feels like to be one of our listeners that's not a Patreon member. They're probably like, "Oh, I really want to experience what David's talking about, but I can't because I'm not a Patreon member."
Yeah, so
Well,
right down there in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen here for on YouTube, you can go to Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187 on Patreon.
No spaces,
and
no
subscribe to our Patreon and check out commentaries, check out old random episodes.
We have a lot of Patreon exclusive content on there that you can't listen to on your local podcaster, whether it be Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but you can hear them on Patreon. So if you've run out of Star Wars Stuff podcast content, we promise you there's more. We promise.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to do commentaries for each episode of The Bad Batch. I believe James is going to work on that. And of course, you can find us on Twitter at StuffPod. Facebook, we have a Facebook page, a Facebook group where we put in new info, memes, pictures, whatever's happening that day. And also YouTube, Star Wars Stuff Podcast. And we're also on TikTok. And where else are we? What did I miss, Matt?
We have a Snapchat too, I guess, under Star Wars Stuff Podcast.
Yeah, I believe.
So,
I believe you're in charge of that. Yeah,
I am.
So, of course, Instagram as well. I don't know if I mentioned that at Star Wars Stuff Podcast.
Well, yeah, that one's yep.
Yeah, definitely check us out on all major social media. And do you have anything else to add, Matt? Anything pop into your head?
No.
I think that's most of the news. We, of course, Galaxy's Edge for us was pretty big. We were there on Star Wars Day. Saw a lot of people, had a lot of people come up to us, which is awesome. We told everyone on the podcast, if you're listening, come up to us and say something that you listen to the podcast. Of course, we're wearing our shirts. And of course, I picked up a Salacious Crumb here. I think he's got a word or two.
I'm surprised that little thing has been able to keep quiet the whole time.
Yeah, I know it's.
But as the world opens
still
up and the pandemic ends, we're gonna as we begin to have like Comic-Cons and troops available for the 501st stuff like that. We'll be starting to do those things more and more. And I think this summer there's a lot of potential for a lot of things. So definitely the summer is it's gonna be nice and big. We're gonna. Even though we have a Bad Batch going on all summer, and we'll keep you tuned with all things Star Wars. So
definitely,
if you haven't followed us on social media, do that again because we like to keep you guys up to date with all things Star Wars. Even when we're not podcasting, we want to be able to share information with you. And if we ever reference something in the podcast, chances are we'll end up posting it there when we're done, so you have a way to reference it. So definitely use it as a resource.
Yep, Star Wars is definitely ramping up, man. We're in full Star Wars mode right now, and the Bad Batch. And
there's no break on this train. Choo choo.
And on that note, for Matt, my name is David. Thank you. May the Force be with you
always.